Hello, good evening, and welcome to the second live stream from the Singer, Songwriter Performer Club. Thank you very much for joining again. Thank you very much for the great feedback from the last round. It's been, I think, 2-3 weeks, I can't remember. But I think it was quite a nice effort, and we really got nice feedback. And we changed some things up. For example, like not only I got now a pop filter, and a bit better pop filter, so it's not popping that much. Also, I lost some hair due to the dog shearing machine. Oh, yeah, I want something in the background. Okay, never mind. So yeah, I lost some hair as well. Brilliant. Literally used the dog shearing machine in desperate times. Call for desperate measures, right? So. Okay, I just got the feedback that there is no. Okay. I hope you can forgive me. There's some technical problems apparently, like always. Let's try this. I think the cam is somehow frozen, but we have Jesus Christ. I'll try different ones. So if you could let me know, please. So okay, if you could try let me know in the chat, in the YouTube chat, or in the channel. Oh, here I don't see video. Okay, thank you very much for feedback. Of course, like in all bioinformatics software and everything in science, you test, and then once you try to once you go into production, everything is failing. Okay, apparently there is. Yeah, I'll just do it with this cam then. So, and now I see a chat again. Basically today, the topics. So there was a lot of. So I'm totally exhausted. I had a lot of work last week, and eventually, I didn't have a lot of sleep, but I was really looking forward to this session to do some fun parts on video conference, video chat, live stream part, and not only work-related stuff. So again, thank you very much for joining. Today we're gonna follow up the first session for from the audio mixing and introduction to digital audio workstation, recording and mixing. And there are some things I wanted to discuss with. Add to the last session, and we will have some follow-ups. Like I want to discuss a bit more about microphones. We will have a live session about how microphones are. What are the differences of microphones? We will test some different microphones. Also, how to use effects and some more advanced features of mixing and so on. So, again, I apologize. About the cam. Unfortunately, I don't know why this didn't work. Okay, so I'm gonna change to the slides, if that's okay. You should see the slides now, and the frozen pic. Yeah, cool. So, last time we had like analog input, so we went through all this, how to record stuff, all the basics, from analog input, with a mic. I'll skip this. I go through this quite fast because we discussed this last time, and there's the YouTube video available for everybody to watch if you want to catch up with that. Eventually, we will record via mic or via instrument cable and get an audio signal, and this can be captured with an audio interface. And this audio interface are brilliant because you just plug in, and they're connected mostly via USB. Or you can use an audio recorder and record on file, and then just bring it to the digital workstation. On the other hand, there is like digital input, where we can record like electric drums or drum pads or like pianos or electric like organs or some other stuff. Again, nowadays everything is works with USB, and actually results in a MIDI file. We had a look to this last time, and yeah, again, these are the two main things, and we discussed a bit about this digital audio workstation. Basically, this digital audio workstations is nothing else than a digital mixer, where you have each line here is a track, is basically one instrument or one recording of an instrument. Again, you can actually record a guitar with two mics, for example, or a drum set is actually recorded with multiple mics. One mic with the kick drum, one mic with the tom, head mics, and so on. And from left to right, there's this time scale, or this timeline, basically. And I'm actually pretty disappointed that the cam actually stopped working when we started streaming. Hopefully you can fix this in a second, but I hope this is okay. And I appreciate if you write in the chat. Thanks, Tom, Anusha, Steve, already, and the just let me know if things are okay, if the audio is fine, if the video is fine, and so on. So feedback is always appreciated. It's always awkward to talk toward the screen without any feedback, like this monologue style. Okay, and today, so one thing I forgot about the audio interfaces per se is, like last time we said there's like one channel audio interfaces, there are multiple channel audio interfaces, and I mentioned that with a guitar you could, for example, use a mic and the line in at the same time, and then mix the signal to get a kind of warmer, better mix of the whole instrument. Or you could use 2 or 3 or 4 mics at the same time, but mostly like this is one channel is often 90% sufficient, I think. One thing I forgot to mention is that in terms of stereo signals, because those things are mono, so you don't have like a left-right sense in a way, if that makes sense. And with this audio interfaces with 2 channels, you could technically record also like stereo, like one is the left channel and one's the right channel. And at the end of last session, we played around a bit with panning, making the audio feel like it comes more from the left side or the right side. And this is actually a really important thing in the mixing part, and I want to discuss this a bit further. But also forgot there are these small mixers nowadays, like this you can use for a very small gig. For example, this microphone is now running via this, and you often have a USB cable, like a USB plug, and you can actually plug them into a computer and use them as audio interfaces as well. However, usually those channels are not so you can't record the channels individually, but you actually get the master signal out, like you get the whole mix out. You get only one signal from this whole mixer. This is what actually I'm using right now for this mic, because I want to use the audio interface for the recording. And one thing I could fix up from last time was actually, and this bugged the hell out of me. I think it took me at least 5 hours to figure this out. Why the screen capturing tool I'm using can't actually record this, and how to fix this. Eventually, the solution, you will like it. It's plain that simple. I took a cable and put the output into the input of another of the audio interface, which is it has an additional input. I like my audio interface very much for that, and yeah, that's it. But so okay, for conceptually, what is this? So usually, you in Windows or like other or Mac or other operating system, Linux, you usually have some management tool which manage all the audio inputs coming in. For example, if you have like a Spotify coming, or like you have a browser or some, you can the actually operating system is managing the audio here. The thing is that I mentioned with audio interfaces that they are usually they have 2 or 3 weaknesses usually, and like a good audio interface can cope with those. One of the weaknesses is this big background noise, and this is something which is basically the only thing you can do is to buy a decent one, and there are very decent one for relatively affordable money. So I recommend this, or like the Complete Audio 6. This is for like a hobby user and for an even a semi-professional, completely sufficient. Even like you could, even for a pro, you could technically use this. Of course, pros have different standards, but you can always go the price can always go up. You can spend massive amount of money, and I would like to do that anytime. But so background noise, of course, is really about the quality of the audio interface. And then secondly, there is like latency. Latency is like you plug the string of a guitar or a bass guitar, or slap the bass, as we like to say, and suddenly you have a delay because it goes through this different drivers and so on, and until it reaches the digital audio workstation. And although it's just a couple of it's in the milliseconds, it can really screw up, because if you hear yourself delayed, it's kind of, your playing can be off. And actually, I wanted to share the experience I had with BandLab, because we used BandLab as the first DAW to use. And so I'm gonna switch up. Where am I? Okay. Then, here. No. Then later. Yeah. Hidden very well. This is BandLab is actually an online digital audio workstation, which is for people who probably hadn't had the opportunity to join last time. So the BandLab is a collaborative one, and it's extremely potent. It has so many nice features, and especially I think the main feature is you can share this, and multiple people can work on a track together. You can work on one song together, and it has fantastic effects. It has like presets and so on, and you can do many things. The one disadvantage from BandLab, this is one thing I experienced in the last weeks, is that of course it's not a standalone program on your machine, which is kind of more efficient in communicating with the audio interface. So therefore, there's sometimes a latency which actually was a bit annoying to me. I tried like this Audio Canteen version 2, and I recorded directly into BandLab. And it's okay. It's okay. It's not bad. But I personally prefer to just record it directly to my machine and then just copy paste the track in there. It's not much more work. So back to the presentation. So can you give me some feedback about, is everything okay from quality wise so far? Like audio, can you hear me all right? Can you see me? Can you see the screen and so on? Feedback is appreciated. If you could write in the chat or on our WhatsApp channel. So, good. And one thing I want to mention is, again, this is like one of the disadvantages we had in BandLab is that there was quite some latency, and as a program which runs on your machine quite efficiently has of course benefits. And thank you, Anusha, for the feedback. Great. So the thing is that there are some certain drivers which they can use, and one of this called ASIO. I hope it's also in English ASIO. I call it ASIO now. So it's an audio standard for input and output, and the thing is that this can directly can directly communicate with the DAW, so it doesn't go via kind of the operating level system, and that's the reason why you couldn't hear my cool. So you couldn't hear my sound the last time. So from Reason, because Reason was a standalone program, and BandLab actually outputs everything via the browser, and therefore browser over the operating system. So, and there are like sometimes when you install a DAW, it can you sometimes have to just choose the right driver or install a right driver, but that's actually not extreme problem. So it's manageable. So you'll or if you need help, we can help you definitely. So I don't want to waste too much time on this is just some things I from experience since, or like I want to share with you from last time, and then eventually I want to expand on the last thing we had. This was audio mixing, and we started off with a bit of panning and like left, right, and so on. As I said, stereo mono. The concept of stereo mono is like, of course, you have like stereo left, right. You have the feeling of room and space, but there's also like another dimension, and this is really nicely explained in this YouTube tutorial as well. I can really recommend this. I will send this around later on. That if you imagine you have two speakers, left, right, the usual setup, and this is the one dimension here, the x-axis, so to speak, and then on the y-axis, getting all scientifically, you can actually plot, so to speak, the frequency range. So the bass, the real deep bass, on the bottom, and the high pitch, the treble on the top. And last time I was mentioning that you sometimes, like once you create a mix, you want to give each instrument a little space to be there, like room, so to speak. And I realized that this is absolutely makes no sense. No, doesn't, if you have like not this picture in mind. So therefore I'm so I took this picture from this YouTube tutorial, which is because they have just done a fantastic job displaying it. And usually, again, here on the from left to right hand side, you have the panning, the left input, left output, right output, and from bottom to top the frequencies. And usually once you start off with a completely unmixed mix of a band playing, and you have like different inputs here, then it's kind of something like this. Everything is overlaying, and so it's usually it sounds right, and to be honest, like for a live setup, it's totally fine. Just you realize the difference once you hear it again in a different version. And what you're trying to do is you try to bring each track to its own region, so to speak. For example, if you have two guitars, you don't want to have them overlaying. You want to pan them a bit left and right, so they have their own space. One thing is the bass and the kick, so the real loud, deep frequencies should be, this is what they say in the audio mixing, it should be in the middle, in the center. And of course, the vocals should be in the front, usually in the front, in the center front. And you see that the hi-hat and synths, they have a certain. So this is an example. Of course, this was audio mixing. I read a book about it, and from a very experienced audio mixing engineer, and he says basically they're just describing. Music is very, very subjective, and you have to try out a lot, and you have to gain experience. You have to just do it, and then you see what sounds better. And if it sounds better for you, it's great. And if it sounds better for like in a different way for another person, it's also alright. It's just there are a lot of many opinions, but there are, like in biology as well and science, there are patterns which emerge, and one of these patterns is that if you kind of give the instruments and the vocals and so on a bit space, it sounds nicer because it doesn't get mushy. It doesn't get really mushy. So this example here is, as they say, this is like how actually pop hits are usually mixed. And this is kind of funny because if you see in the very center the vocal, like it's the main part, is really, really prominent. It's the one thing which is really catchy and you got there. And so this is, and funny enough, if you compare it to usually to self-made or to more like say off the shelf records mixed, and usually you have loads of guitars and vocals are a bit more in the back. Again, everything is subjective, and you need to find whatever is best for you and for what you like. That's all right. So eventually, how can you restrain one instrument to a certain area? And this is like we said, from left and right, we have this panning option, so we can actually move it left and right. So you can say from the left speaker, it should be louder than from the right speaker. Therefore, it's perceived that it would be on the left side. And in terms of frequency ranges, there are different. Tom, thank you, Anusha, for asking. Tom is actually also a drum. So they have. It's not. Thanks, Steve, for answering. It's not myself being there. My completely off vocals and awful singing. It's actually a drum, and it's So as I said, the drummers have like the hi-hats, the snare drum, the kick drum. The kick drum is really a deep one, and then I think probably I can show it later at another time what components the drum module has. I'm no drum expert at all, but at least the names. So, okay, then I hope this concept is it gives a sorry, I forgot one thing to say. We said left right, we can kind of make one one thing louder, so we can actually so we actually could sorry, I just figured out how to fix the camera. I think so. I'll have a try later. So left, right, loud, and so on. But in terms of frequency shift, we can use filters, and filters means from the frequency spectrum, and this is what we're gonna have a look at. From the frequency spectrum, we can actually restrain. We can punish low frequencies, or we can punish high frequencies, or we can enhance middle frequencies, and so on and so on. So this is something I would like to show later, how to do this, or at least visually, and have an audio example how this sounds like when the lows are punished or filtered. And EQing, equalizer is usually, you also have it in a car radio and or some sort of like in different radios. We'll have a look. So one thing I want to say is that of course you have to because thanks Tom for giving nice feedback, by the way, and we it was nice discussion, saying studio headphones and so on. Of course, the music is not always perceived differently by different people, and if you think also biologically that not everybody has the same frequency of audio frequency spectra, right? So not everybody hears the same frequencies, but well, we're not making music that's so high pitched that nobody can hear it. That would be pretty annoying, but it's subjective. But also different speakers have different output. For example, these stereo speakers usually are super bass heavy, right? So once you and like then you have your great old car and your and you still want that your mix is really rocking in this car. So if you mix it for these bass stereos, like these bass enhanced stereos, it probably will lack a lot of bass in the car. So eventually, so I'm trying to change. Is this camera frozen? I think it should be unfrozen. Let me know. Yeah. And then there's so-called studio monitors. This is like this exact one I have at home, and those they not only look cool, but they actually have a very neutral frequency output. So they actually are built that they won't enhance any spectra. But also like the stereo speakers here, they are made that they will really fill the whole room. So it means they actually projecting the audio more to the sides as well, and so. But the studio monitors are actually just one directionally projecting the audio forward. And then once you have two, you have of course the intersection. Intersection of this audio monitors with really nice equal frequency output, and this position here in between is called the sweet spot. Yeah, now the camera is working great. Yeah, this is the sweet spot, and so this is always nice. I'm sitting in the sweet spot. So, to be honest, those things are not essential, not at all. Really not. It's just nice to have like good speakers at home. It's really not essential. It's probably, even if you mix everything on very cheap headphones, you can use the last 1% of your time to I don't know, adjust the mix. Of course, it's always nicer if you have like the right direct output, but as a very cool musician said, the best equipment is what you already have. So make use of it, make use of it and use it. And then once you really can't do anymore, then probably it's a great idea to upgrade. Or and I like this saying, but I'm totally different. I like to invest. This is like my dream hobby now. I discovered for myself, and I love investing, and because I know I will have it for 15-20 years and I will be happy. So you can take either approach. Okay, so I hope, yeah, I see, because the camera capture was minimized and then it froze the picture. So yeah, so if there are any questions, feedback, let me know. We will then come to the microphone part. The microphone phones. The one thing is like, why are we taking this approach? We, last time we discussed about how to record audio and so on, and we said either via audio interface or via microphones. And since we discussed the audio interface, we actually and then I realized that I've forgotten one thing to mention, that the audio interface actually, we said there's three types of problems. I said one is the background, noise. Second, latency, and third, there can be buffer issues, and this is something where suddenly there's crackling in the coming out. And actually, our singer from my band, good friend, recorded Monday some audio, and there was actually something, and I didn't ask her, but I hope you're fine, Vanessa. I'm not sure if you're watching, but I can show how this sounds like. Actually,
and you are not where you're from. You are your favorite.
I think, I'm not sure if you could hear this, but there was a crackling.
You are your favorite.
Yeah. So this crackling is coming from usually is coming from a problem with the buffering. So the audio interface is kind of taking the analog signal and then writing it digitally, and then the DAW and the driver is coming to the hardware and say, oh yeah, I'm collecting the packages you created, and then suddenly you have, it's basically like some wood chopper, and somebody chops the wood, and the other one is carrying it away. And then if the one who's chopping is so much faster, then there is too much, and then suddenly something will fall in the water and it's gone away. And this is like where the crack comes from. And last time we also explained how to level the sound. That is, there's no clipping. Clipping is when it's too loud, and then there's can't be taken up. So we come to the microphones, and these microphones. The one side, I think it is very important to understand where the signal is coming from. Therefore, we discussed the audio interfaces quite extensively, and please let us know, or let me know, if you have any problems with that, or if you're interested. We actually have one spare audio interface at home, so if you want to try it out or so on, that let us know. And secondly, the microphones. I think this is also kind of important to understand. There are some differences between microphones, and I kind of started off with just explaining the difference, that there are condenser microphones, dynamic microphones, and so on. And then there's these big ones like this here, which is exactly the Rode one on the left-hand side of the picture. And there are like dynamic ones, which are often handheld ones. So the condenser, there are differences. The condenser one, these handheld microphones can be both, can be either. They are condenser and dynamic. But what are those? So a dynamic microphone is actually it's pretty much the reverse of microphones are the reverse of speakers. Like there's a diaphragm, and the actually audio. The energy is when you have speakers, you're actually producing frequencies, and here you're taking up frequencies. And the dynamic microphone is a passive one, so you have like here a magnet, and then they have like a coil, and there's a diaphragm, and then sends off the signal. I don't want to go into much detail there, just saying the condenser one has actually active battery there. Which means that you always need this phantom power, and this is also what we said last time with this 48 volts. You have to click the button or push the button that it's on, otherwise you won't hear anything. But mainly, so dynamic microphones were mainly used, or a lot of them were used on stage. And we have different. So I'll try to. So you should see me. Ha! So this is a typical microphone for stage. You have on the stage, and this is the Shure SM58, and this is one of the legends of dynamic microphones, because it was very robust, and all the rock stars on rock and roll drugs and whatever they did were rocking hard and dropping those mics quite a lot, and those survived and sounded still good. A condenser mic is actually often a bit more fragile, and you have to take a care, like a bit. You should take care. Well, they break easier, so I think that's one of the reasons. But condenser microphones, like this Rode here, they're large diaphragm microphones. So dynamic microphones have been. They're totally fine. Just in the studio, usually you would use condenser because they have a more dynamic, especially if there comes some pressure. And if you think about air movement, right, on a kick drum, like when the drummer is crazy loud and kicks the drum like crazy, then there's a lot of air moved, and then what happens is that the dynamic microphones often are at the level what they can take up, and the condenser kind of a bit more sensitive in this area. They can take up more pressure. There are many other differences, but it's let's say for studios often those are taken. And if you want to go back. So this is all new to me. The streaming is so exciting. It's like if you haven't already noticed, I'm a total tech nerd, and I love playing around with those things, and I'm very happy and excited that things work. Last time I was extremely nervous because I didn't know if anything would work, but we already had our little hiccup in the beginning, but I think it should be fine. So one thing, it doesn't matter, from mics wise, I think one thing is important to understand mic wise, and this is like same here. The question is whenever you record, especially vocalists, you should be aware what kind of mic it is. Some mics have like they take up like the whole room, right? It doesn't matter where you stand. Technically, you could stand on the back and the front, whatever. Yeah. But those are like directional microphones, right? If you have to speak in there, that's the typical thing you see at conferences when people are holding the candle. Say, "Hello, my name is blah 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 blah." No, it's yeah. It just, you should speak. This is where the sound goes. Right? There should be an arrow top, like this is where the sound goes, and this is very important. Like and some of them are more sensitive, and some of them are less sensitive, and some of them have like so this cardioid shape, for example, means that it takes up most from top, but also from the sides a bit downside. The supercardioid is actually a bit more sensitive on the top, a bit less sensitive on the side. So it's on a stage, for example, there's a lot of noise around. So you have like, of course, the drum set is behind you. You have the guitarist, the vocalist, and so on, and then you have your own monitor mixer, like you hear yourself on stage, and then you don't want the feedback to feedback, right? So you shouldn't take your mic and put it to the speakers, because then you blast everybody's ears and nobody will be happy. But the supercardioid are sometimes a bit more sensitive, less sensitive to feedback. So it's actually advantageous, but it also depends what type of mic and so on. And there is one rule: test it out and try whatever fits best, suits your voice. But again, the more important thing is the supercardioid, that you really have the microphone in front of you and not on the side or whatever, or so on. Like you can't sing like this with with a normal cardioid. This is like there's more range you can take. Yeah, there are of course different ones taking up rooms. I think this is a better representation here. This is like, you see there's actually not that much difference, like couple, but again, feedback wise, you notice. So I just want to speak because I was doing some research because I wanted to see what others do, and it's so funny because a bit of history of mics. I like that so much. This Shure SM58 is a legend. It's built in the 60s and still the same model, so to speak, and you can drop it around, you throw it, whatever. And there's on the screen there's 3 variants of these. By the way, usually you can take off a capsule of a mic and clean it or do other stuff. And funny enough, if you can see this here, it looks like the SM757. Almost. That's just a different grill on it. And that's the reason why it is, because it is the same. It has the same capsule. The capsule is the one which is taking up the sound. So the 2 are actually almost the same mic, just a different head. And this SM7B, this is something you see in a lot of talk shows, like in this radio podcasts and shows, and it's so popular right now. Funny enough, this microphone costs about 400 to 500 euros, like 450 euros, whereas this Shure, this costs about 80 or 90, something. It is 80. The other 450. And the funny thing is the capsule is just a bit altered. It's not that much different. It has just a different body and looks so much better. And I think because it looks so much better, it's very popular. And one thing I added, and I'm monologuing away. If I'm too fast or something, please let me know. I really appreciate feedback. So the one thing I figured, like doing my nerd research, and I like this technical research there, that this Shure SM7B, this really popular one, this, the one which is really expensive and sounds fantastic. It really sounds fantastic if you hear this podcast or this show, so on. But it's extremely noise sensitive. So you need, I talked last time that every audio interface and everything, every audio mixer has a preamp. So it takes the signal and amplifies it up. And with this SM7B, you need at least about 1,000 euros of hardware equipment that you will get a noise level which is okay, or you need really heavy post-processing. And there's a guy on YouTube who just took one of these and shaped the frequencies different. It sounds almost the same. It's really funny. Okay, probably only fun to me, but so far so good. There are a lot of Sennheisers, and Sennheiser is a fantastic company. There are Neumanns, there are more the Porsches, and so on. Like there are loads of different microphones, and testing. I think testing is really the most important thing if it suits your voice, and you can get very decent microphones for 80, 90 euros upwards. Everything below that is usually I have a cheap one in the bedroom as a backup, and this doesn't sound really great, but from 90 onwards there are really good ones already. And I think the ones we used in the last SAG was from the photo lab. It was Neumann mics. Those were amazing, but they cost quite a lot of money. So I hope Ira can join us at some stage, because I thought we can do a live demo of can we hear differences in mics or not, if you have time or not. We'll see. If she hears us, I'm not sure. And until then, I will monologue away. Can do that later as well. And lastly, because I want to do some practical as well, I will do some. We talk about effects and filters. So, a lot of mic and audio interface business, and I think once we can talk about effects, and this is something which is religious. This is like religious warfare. Ah, there she is. Hello. So, because I am such a good singer, not brought Ira in, so we'll have some demos of mics. So I'm not sure if this is totally, we didn't have a lot of time to prepare, so we'll see if we can see a difference or we can hear a difference, because I have here as well, this is our third mic. This is a condenser handheld mic, and so we did actually test with between the two Sennheisers. We actually, our personal preferences probably shouldn't bias you, but we have our favorite, and we tested it actually quite a lot, but we'll see. Let's try. Good. So I'm gonna give you both, and we're gonna record this, and you can choose your song. I would say, don't stop believing. What? You can. So, hold. And usually you don't sing into two mics. Huh?
Both at once?
Oh, well, yeah, well, we can try to take the same take, and yeah, why not? We'll to go crazy with the mics today. So this is reason. This is my DAW of choice, but you don't need to see it right now. So we just record plain without a click, and you can try. Can you try speaking? Huh? Yeah, we have different setup here. Yeah, we don't have a click actually. Do you want to have?
No.
Okay.
Check.
Wait. So.
Check.
Yeah. So now everybody should be able to hear you, and try.
I don't know. What should I sing?
Okay. The la.
There's a fire starting in my heart, reaching the fever pitch, and it's bringing me out of the dark.
So I'm gonna amp it a bit up so that we have enough. So usually we said, this is what we haven't done. First of all, we're gonna test what's the loudest you're gonna sing, because then we can adjust the level where we're gonna go to. And this is, so sing loud, please. No pressure.
La, la, la.
Very
Check, 1.
Very good, because every mic is different.
Oh my god. Those poor people.
It's good. Spam, yeah, woohoo. Look, Anusha said, go here, and I like that. Okay, we're ready to go, and please, whenever you're ready.
How long should it be?
How long you like.
No.
At least half a minute.
There's a fire starting in my heart, reaching the fever pitch, and it's bringing me out of the dark.
Okay, cool. I think we need another song, don't we? I think we need another song.
No.
Yeah, Journey.
I can't remember.
There is the folder of wisdom with all the lyrics inside. Okay.
I'm gonna do them. It's so weird to have two microphones. Alright.
Yeah, well, yeah. Okay. Cool.
Ain't no sunshine when he's gone. It is not warm when he's away. Ain't no sunshine when he's gone, and this house just ain't no home anytime he goes away.
Great. Okay. Hope you enjoyed that. And we're gonna, and please let us know if you can hear the audio right. That would be That would be fantastic. Yeah, and we have the third mic, but let's try with the two, because I think I'm kind of curious. This should. So and now you can also stay if you want. So we go to reason, up. This is our sequencer. You don't need to be scared. It's just a sequencer. It's the same like BandLab, just a bit more complicated. No, not really complicated. So, thanks, game. Good.
There's a fire starting in my heart, reaching the.
So naturally, both tracks are mono, so it means both are in the center. But now we want to do a comparison. And thanks, Tom. Great. Glad you could join. Tom is super great with. He was actually participating in open stage, open mic night in a pub online. I like that a lot. Shout out to Tom. So now I'm trying to turn up my volume a bit as well, my headset volume, because we want to hear differences, and we're gonna zoom in. So first of all, yes, zoom in. Good.
There's a.
Very good. So the blind test. You don't know what channel it is. How exciting.
There's a fire starting in my heart, reaching the fever pitch, and it's bringing me out of the dark.
So that was channel 2. And you probably will say it sounds exactly the same. I don't know. But we can do the loop.
There's a fire starting in my heart, reaching the fever pitch, and it's bringing me out of the dark.
Okay. So, of course, it's a bit difficult right now. Both are good mics, so it's not really that obvious. However, I wanted to show you a spectrum, because
there's a fire starting in my heart, reaching the fever pitch, and it's bringing me out of the dark. There's a fire starting in my heart, reaching the fever pitch, and it's bringing me out of the dark. There's a.
So what we're gonna do is we look at the first spectra and then the second spectra. I'm not sure. I think it's really hard to hear usually. So I'm still a bit unsure how to do this, how to compare exactly.
There's a fire.
So first channel. We say first channel. First channel, and we look at the spectra a bit.
There's a fire starting in my heart, reaching the fever pitch, and it's bringing me out of the dark. There's a fire starting in my heart, reaching the fever pitch, and it's bringing me out of the dark.
So, good question. And now the second one.
There's a fire starting in my heart, reaching the fever pitch, and it's bringing me out of the dark. There's a fire starting in my heart, reaching the fever pitch, and it's bringing me out of the dark.
So, funny enough, I'm not sure if you could hear it. The problem is you need to turn up the volume quite a lot to hear differences. But at least here, I turned it up quite a bit. You could hear something in a bit more crispy in the heights, in the treble. Not big difference. Both mics are great. And so those are now, like, of course we have flat EQs. There's nothing going on there. So it's like whatever comes in goes out. Let's try another example.
Ain't no sunshine when he's gone. Ain't no sun.
I like the middle part of the song.
Ain't no sunshine when he's gone, and this house just ain't no home. Ain't no sunshine when he's gone, and this house just ain't no home.
So, since you probably don't know what I'm doing here. So, again, first channel.
Ain't no sunshine when he's gone, and this house just ain't no home. Ain't no sunshine when he's gone, and this house just ain't no home.
So, and now second channel.
Ain't no sunshine when he's gone, and this house just ain't no home. Ain't no sunshine when he's gone, and this house just ain't no home.
Okay, so this is probably a difficult one. Let me know how you feel. But so channel number 1 in this case was the Shure SM58, and the second one was the Sennheiser one. Both are great, really great mics. So there's not like a huge difference. However, to me personally, and this is with really loud levels, you could hear a bit that to me personally, that the Sennheiser was a bit better with the treble and with the crisp. However, both great, and again, you can still EQ everything. But what we're gonna do now is, like I said, about high pass and low pass filter. So we're gonna take just one track here.
Ain't no sunshine when he's gone.
And look at the spectrum up there. And usually, again, before in this graphic, it was like the y-axis from bass to treble. Here we have the bass on the left-hand side and the treble on the right-hand side. And here there are some things you can do. This is usually you can do with every mixer. Every mixer you have, like a bigger mixer, has at least 3 points. You can or 2. You can at least do the bass, the treble, and the mids usually. So these are basically nothing different than do this. So that okay, I need to turn them off because they are feedbacking here. That was a bit annoying. So.
And this house just ain't no.
So, again, I told you about EQing. Here is like I'm gonna cut down basses.
Ain't no sunshine when he's gone, and this house just ain't no home. Ain't no sunshine when he's gone.
Good. I think that's quite obvious. I hope so. But you can do this with the treble heights.
House just ain't no home. Ain't no sunshine when he's gone.
Ow. Sorry about that.
And this house just ain't no home. Ain't no sunshine when he's gone.
Okay. This is quite obvious, but so this is EQ. EQ is something you can always use with every instrument, and usually they are present in the modern mix and the digital mix. So you have actually presets. You can say this is gonna be an acoustic guitar, and it will give you an EQ, a preset which is already kind of pre-modeled, and you can just adjust a bit. So you don't need to be an audio engineer expert to, well, it would be nice, of course, but it actually the presets are fantastic already, because they give you at least something where you can orient and then say, okay, now I can do that. And one concept here is low pass filter and high pass filter. This is also a very common concept. This is a real cut off. Contrary to the EQ, where we just punish or the levels, we can do a low pass filters, and everything in the low area is kind of passing, and then you can drag it left or right. This is, for example, if you want to have a kick drum, which is on the bass guitar, for example. You want to at least let's take the kick drum. It's a bit easier. Say kick drum, bass, boom, really, really deep. You don't need to have any frequencies from the top there. Then you do a low pass filter and say screw you, high frequencies, and okay. And the other way around, you can. And this is actually what's sometimes done on
Ain't
mic.
no sunshine when he's gone, and this house just ain't no home. Ain't no sunshine when he's gone, and this house.
It can be also used as effect sometimes, yeah. But again, so I hope this was not too painful of a demonstration right now. I will try to spice it up a bit. But again, second live stream, we're still learning. And okay, because we already have the nice vocal tracks, I can do something to show. This is Reason. So this is a commercial product actually. My friend Sven and I bonded over. This is like how our friendship really enhanced and whatever or developed. And the thing is that there's Cakewalk, which is free and which is really brilliant. It's almost like Reason, but I don't know Cakewalk so well, so I'm gonna do this on Reason. But we will have a Cakewalk tutorial, so you can do the same. One cool thing is, for example, dear singers, you want to see your singing. Here it is. It actually, you see?
Ain't no sunshine when he's gone.
And this is super nice to see. You can see, and hope she will not kill me afterwards. But you can see here the pitch, the levels here, and this is used. You can correct the pitch a bit by adjusting it to the tone settings. Sometimes, usually you don't want to overdo it, right? So I'm gonna do this like an example now. By overcorrecting everything, so to speak.
Ain't no sunshine when he's gone.
Oops, that's the wrong.
Ain't no sunshine when he's gone, and this house just ain't no home.
Awful auto-tune. That's auto-tune. That's what auto-tune does actually. There are like plugins and stuff, but what autotune does actually, it flattens out the human voice and really makes it flat. But it's sometimes nice to be able to adjust little variations, but you don't want to dehumanize the whole track because you really want it to sound human. And so for example, this is a beautiful tremolo here. You don't want to give it away. You hear this tremolo in the voice. This is actually an effect, so you don't want to kill it. Okay, time is running. Jeez. Actually, for this was not like I spent most of the time fixing how to do this. Okay. I will just. Yeah, I will talk a bit about effects. We'll try 2, 3, and don't want to do this too long because I actually didn't want to do more than an hour, probably like another 10 minutes or so. We go back to the effects and to everything which is I also like nerded. I have a little cell phone thing where I should be able to switch my channels, but it won't work. Damn it. Okay. Then I have to do it manually. Never mind. Yeah, now it does. Lag. Fantastic technique. So, filters and effects. Effects is something also like microphones, quite ancient, and usually you have so how does it work? Yeah, usually you can take your acoustic guitar, you play, that's it. The room is your effect. That's like the reverb, you have your wood, you have actually all the environment, this is your effect. But of course with the electric area, more and more funny things came up, like distortion, where we completely screw up the signal so it sounds great. Or we'll compress and we do stuff, and so the manufacturers build like pedals, stomp pedals, where you can and the pedal boards are like in the screen, and you actually, yeah. And it's lagging. Great. So yeah, so the pedal boards are those effects. They're literally built on a board, and Steve asks me, is the pitch correction a plugin or is built-in feature? Thanks, Steve, for asking. It is in Reason. It's actually the pitch correction is built in, but it's actually so it's a built-in feature. But there are also plugins which do it for you. So Reason, and I will come to you. This is perfect timing because I'll get back to this in a minute, because you can also add pitch correction as an effect. So either you correct it really on the vocal level, or you add an additional effect which then tries to correct live. So it really takes a signal during the processing. And here what we're doing is we actually change the input signal. We permanently change the input signal. So the just so you know, I tried singing It Can't Pitch Correct Me. It just doesn't work. I'm too bad. Yeah. So this is how a pedal board, old one, looks like, and this is like you must imagine that those sounds shaped a whole music generation. Like one of those pedals, like the Tube Screamer or like a certain chorus, really invented a whole or helped inventing a whole genre. Like this is like our understanding of music and how things should sound like is often based on how such a pedal or how such an amp or something is like sounded, and now of course everybody demands it has to sound exactly like that because it can only be like that. Of course then there it's not only these pedals, they are coming also in rack versions, and this rack here is nothing else than an effect but on a rack mount. And this, for example, here, an amp on a rack mount. And you know, for big tours, they will take the whole wagon and bring the effects like this. And these are really expensive, very good effects. And funny enough, Reason, this is what I'll come back to what Steve said. Reason actually has this rack approach that you see here, a rack. And for example, I'm gonna take a so here are the audio tracks, the audio track 1 here and the audio track 2 we recorded. For just ignore the other ones for now. And here I can just take the pitch correction, for example, and add it as an effect. And this looks different in all different DAWs, but the principle is the same. You have one track and you add effects. Reason has this rack approach, where you can turn around, you can even see the cable and then connect some cable, but I have no idea how to connect this cable anyway. So it's kind of funny because you can do stuff. Yeah. But this, for example, then you can say what key it should be in, and then you can say whatever it should do. Time is flying. Time is flying. Tell you guys. So of course the newer versions are those are like all the effect chains and amps modeled and so on. Of course, all the hardliners can't say this is good because no, I'm the new kid on the block. I can't play properly guitar, but I like instruments. I like gadgets, right? No, the thing is that on a blind test, you can really shape. They are fantastic. I have this Helix, for example, where there's amp, but you have all the signals, and you see probably here in the background that all the signals are actually the whole pedal board. You can change pedal boards with click, and for example, I just built myself a pedal board here. Yeah. Kim, I got the small looper as well. I wanted to have a mobile version because it's too big. And those things are quite nice. They're with newer instruments and so on. But it's so bloody expensive. The cables and everything and the mixing is actually quite annoying. But of course you can exchange stuff. But here I love my Helix as well because it's super easy and you can actually you can vary it quite a lot and you can do great stuff. But enough of this. There are also small versions. The reason why I put in the small version here is because this can do everything with the bigs can do, just a bit smaller, just a fewer effects. But those things can be also used as audio interface. They have also USB thing, and so they have effects built in. What I wanted to say is that the analog effects in the pedal boards are now, and on these rack systems are now actually all digitalized and put into very small boxes nowadays. And of course, if you really want the same sound than before, than what you have, how you think it should sound like, right? Then it can only the analog can do that, right? But this is depends what you want to do. Often the digital have quite advantages as well. Sound is subjective, and it depends on do you want that sound, do you want a different one, do you want a better sound, do you want a completely do whatever you want, right? Okay. And I want to say is the mixers also have effects built in, and this is funny enough if you look at if you look at this big mixer here, they always look scary, but every single column is one track. There's nothing else in our DAW. We have here two tracks here, right? 1, 2. And funny enough, again, Reason has this engineer. This is the mixer. It's the same thing, then this, only 2 lines of that. And what it means basically is that once you the filters, and now we go back to the filters, you see one line here, and I don't know which one now, but there is a high pass filter, a low pass filter, an equalizer, a high, a treble, a mid, a low, and one knob is for one channel. So if your mic is here and you want to have a high pass filter, then you need to turn this knob, right? But also they have effects. You have reverbs, for example, if you room reverbs, then there's one line, and say the same reverb can be applied on each and individual channel here. And how to do this? And this is of course very complicated, and it looks very scary. But funny enough, the same thing is also available like this. Just a digital one where you have then the interface on the tablet. It looks better, and you can load presets. And the only disadvantage is that you don't have a button where you can turn stuff. But I really like those as well. And of course, it's always there are different styles, different effects, and I just want to for sake of not having not staying up too long or making I hope that this is not too long for you guys. I want to just show you two or three effects and keep the rest for another session. I have a bit prepared about how to structure a song, and the science actually. That's very funny because he did mouse studies and found out what when you play notes, what arrangement of notes does trigger mice so they can't ignore it. And funny enough, this is reflecting in how our songs are built, how there's actually correlation. There's some commonalities. There are some commonalities. So, and this is again, for now, I actually wanted to mix our audio canteen, which I probably will do a whole mixing session only on our audio canteen. but I thought it's quite important to understand more about the basics and then go into a bit deeper mixing. And we're gonna take our track here that what Ira recorded, and we're gonna remove the pitch correction now. We're gonna just take oops.
Ain't no sunshine.
Oh god, I screwed something up here. Okay. Then we're gonna take
And when he's
the
gone,
not editor. So the audio track 2 we're gonna take.
it is not warm when he's away. Ain't no sunshine when he's gone.
So beautiful. And now what we can do is, in reason it's like you have the effects here. You can, for example, say I want to have a reverb. And I'm gonna put up reverb, this one, and then will sound crazy in the beginning.
Ain't no sunshine when he's gone.
Yeah, so that's the that's of course ridiculous, but you can actually choose. I want to have a studio reverb, for example.
It is not warm when he's away. Ain't no sunshine when he's gone, and this house just ain't no home anytime he goes.
So I don't like this reverb in particular because this is actually I think it's more for synthesizers so on. But one thing with effects is they always have this dry wet button. It's always called differently, and depending on how dry it is, the less it is, and how wetter it is, the more of this. For example, before this, it started with 100%, which is awful. So we just add just a bit, 10%.
Sunshine when he's gone.
That's completely dry.
House just ain't no home anytime he goes away.
So reverb. This is like room, and the thing is why you wanna you actually wanna apply the reverb to all the instruments, the same type of reverb. You don't want to have one reverb, like a big hall reverb, and then a small room reverb in the same track. It sounds strange if they're like as if two instruments were not playing the same room, right? When you mix, you want to give the impression that you are in a room with the band or with the whole instruments. So okay, and then the two effects. I said 3, so we are down to, and this doesn't make sense here, but I have already prepared the audio canteen. This is like, I just gonna solo on the backing track for this. So the backing track is here. This is an amp, so I just if you bypass, you can always bypass those things and that's actually a good thing to hear what it does. That would be without the amp. That's with the amp. Okay. For now, we just bypass the amp and we put on a delay. What does a delay do? A delay is actually nothing else than it, and here you can see it on the screen that the original tone, like it repeats the same note, so the same input, delayed a bit less, and this is called the decay, and it has a very nice effect on some things, and yeah, delay. You know what? I'm not gonna do this tonight. I'm gonna do this another night. Probably, I don't know, next week or in 2 weeks or something. This if you want. So delay. There's actually want to talk about compression, because compression is something because especially when you pick guitar, they have sometimes notes which are stronger, or the whole level is a bit too loud and a bit too quiet, and it brings it up to the same level. There are so this is used quite a lot. Like delay is quite used a lot. Reverb is almost always used at some stage. And there are like maximizers of how to bring up the whole sound and so on. And actually, I think the best thing is to take time to create the audio content mix with the effects one by one. I don't want to rush it too much into, because this would be a bit sad. Yeah. So then I kind of stop with and I want to spoiler this because I love this so much. I just think this is so funny. In the mouse study, they had a mouse, and they kind of disturbed the mouse with tones, with sound. So they played a certain tone, and it played beep, and the mouse was like, what the hell is going on? And then they played again, and then eventually, after a couple of times, the mouse got used to the tone and then said, okay, I don't care about this anymore. But then it played another note, and they said, net, and then suddenly the mouse was reacting again, but forgot about the first note. So then they could play the first note again, and then the mouse got scared again. So this was quite a discovery, and poor mouse. But eventually found out repetition how it can play. They can play a succession of notes, so the mouse will always be startled or stirred. I don't know. And this was actually like B, B, C, B, C, D. So the B could be any note right now. But if you think about this, actually how a lot of songs are built up: verse, chorus, bridge. So far, like science fun fact. And this is why I tried for the next audio content. I prepared a band lab thing here, and I hope you will contribute at some stage. I hope so. That where is it now? So here we have the EMBL Singer Songwriter Performer Club. Join. The link is already circulated around. If not, let me know. You can join here, and then we have this. Unfortunately, this webpage is not great yet, but there should be songs there, but it's not. You have to go here on the projects, and then you see the bands. You see the EMBL Singer Songwriter Performer Club, and then you see the audio canteen. And you can open and mix. And then there is the backing track. And this backing track is verse, double verses actually. Double verse, chorus, verse, chorus, bridge. So something like this. So, and this is the next thing. I hope you enjoyed this session. It was, as I said, it was a very hectic week for me. We worked on some Corona-related projects and published it, and I didn't get a lot of sleep. But it was actually, I was really looking forward to this because this is fun. I missed having club events and doing stuff with the club. It was actually this is always like a good highlight, so to speak, in the upcoming I hope you guys are all well, and I hope you stay safe and sane, and if you are interested, please give me some feedback. If you like the session, if you are, honest feedback is appreciated, and let me know if you want to have like a mixing session, or I don't know, we can do much more, like they can do it, I know, every 2 weeks or every week, an hour. I want to actually keep it to an hour. Today was a bit longer than expected, but thanks for joining. Hope you're doing well, and all the best. Take care. Bye bye.